Hello everyone, welcome to another video on time and work by THiNC Institute of Design. My name is Jackson. Let's get started. So when we actually talk about time and work, this is something which is very much connected to the daily life. So you all are people who assign work to somebody or do some work. We are all people who work, right? Do some kind of work sometimes. So in all such situations, we can make use of the things which we are discussing in this class. So let's get started with the first concept. So let's say there are 5 men and they can finish a work in 10 days. So 5 men can finish the work in 10 days. So imagine you are actually giving a particular work to a group of people. Let's say you need to clean your entire house. You're assigning 5 men for that and they finished that particular work in 10 days. So instead of 5 men, now you have to finish the work really fast. So instead of 5 men, if you're assigning 10 men, they can finish the same work in how many days? So there is a particular work. If you're assigning 5 men, they will take 10 days. Now, if you have assigned double that men, that is, instead of 5 men, if you have 10 men working together, they can finish the same work in how many days is the question. So instead of 5 men, we have 10 men working, right? So double the men are working, so they need only half the time. So half the time means, what is the meaning of half the time? So if 5 men took 10 days, so 10 men, double the men are working now, so they need only half the time, that is only 5 days, right? So if I am assigning double the men, they need only half the time. So if 10 men are working, instead of 10 days, they will take only 5 days. Now, what is 5 into 10? It's 50. What is 10 into 5? That is also 50, right? That means the product of the number of men involved and number of days they take for doing a particular work will be always a constant. So we can write this as an equation, that is M1D1 equals M2D2. So imagine there is a question like this. 6 men took 9 days to finish a work. 4 men will take how many days to finish the same work? So we can make use of the equation M1D1 equals M2D2. So M1D1, 6 into 9 equals nothing but 4 into D2, right? So what is D2? D2 is nothing but 6 into 9 divided by 4. So we can actually cancel these two with 2. This is 3, this is 2. So this is nothing but 27 by 2. So what is 27 by 2? It's nothing but 13.5, right? That means if 6 men took 9 days, 4 men will take 13 and a half days to finish the same work. So if it is a question like this, we can actually find the answer really fast because we know that double the men are working, so they need only half the time. But it is a complex question like this, we can make use of this formula M1D1 equals M2D2 and find the answers very fast. So 6 into 9 equals 4 into D2. So D2 will be 6 into 9 by 4, which is 13.5 days. So I believe this concept is clear for you. So the basic equation is M1D1 equals M2D2. Now there is an extension for this formula. So extension is M1D1H1 equals M2D2H2. So you might be wondering what is H2 all about. So M means men, D means the number of days. So H means the number of hours they work for. So M1D1H1 equals M2D2H2. So H means the number of hours they work for. So M1D1H1 equals M2D2H2. So let's say there is a question saying 4 men working 6 hours per day for 4 days. So 4 men are working 6 hours a day for 4 days. 8 men working 3 hours per day will take how many days to do the same work? So what all things you do? You know the value of M1, you know the value of H1, you know the value of D1. We know the value of M2, we know the value of H2, but we need to find the value of D2. So D2 is what we need. So we know M1, D1, H1. So what is M1? 4 into D1, 4 into 4 into 6. So M1, D1, H1 equals M2. What is D2? D2 is what we need to find out, but we know the value of H2, right? So by actually substituting the other values, you can find the value of D2 really fast. So that's how we actually make use of the formula. How we actually make use of the formula M1 D1 H1 equals M2 D2 H2. As H means the number of hours per day each team work for. Now again there is an extensions for the same formula. I'll just show you that. So that formula is M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2. So M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2. That is the formula. So what is a W1 means? So W means nothing but the work they do. So 5 men working 10 hours a day for 2 days can pack 40 boxes. 6 men working 8 hours per day for 4 days can pack how much boxes is a question. So what we need is the value of W2. So 5 men working 10 hours a day for 2 days can pack 40 boxes. 6 men working 8 hours per day for 4 days can pack how much boxes. So we know the value of M1. So 5 men are working. Now what is D1 and H1? So 5 men, that is we know the value of M1. How many hours they are working for? They are working for 10 hours. So how many days? 2 days. Can pack 40 boxes, right? So we know the value of W1 also 40. So because the work they are doing is this. So 5 men working 10 hours a day for 2 days can pack 40 boxes. You know what is M1, H1, D1 and W1. Now 6 men working 8 hours per day for 4 days can pack how much boxes? So we know M2, H2 and D2, and what we need is the value of W2, right? So we can make use of the formula M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2. So 5 into 10 into 2 by 40 equals 6 into 8 into 4 divided by D2. Okay. So all we need is the value of D2. Now whenever we solve a question like this, make sure you cut and simplify all the numbers as maximum as possible. So make sure you cut and simplify the numbers to the large extent, to a large extent. As much as you can, you have to cut and simplify it. So we can cancel these two. So 5 men working 10 hours a day for 2 days. Actually the value of D1 is 2. For 2 days can pack 40 boxes. 6 men working 8 hours a day for 4 days can pack how much boxes is a question. So this 0 and this 0 will cancel off. This 2 and this 4 will cancel off. This becomes 2. Now what will we get? I'm just writing it here. So we are getting 5 by 2 equals 6 into 8 into 4 divided by D2. Now we can cross multiply this. So when we cross multiply, what will we get? 5 into D2 equals 6 into 8 into 4 into 2. Right? And what is the value of D2? It's nothing but 6 into 8 into 4 all divided by 5. So 6 into 8 into 4 into 2 all divided by 5. So what is this all about? So we know that 6 into 8 is 48. So it's basically 48 into 4 into 2 is 8. So it's basically 48 into 8 divided by 5. And what is 48 into 8? So when you do 48 into 8, 8 into 8 is 64. 4 into 8 is 32 plus 6, 38. So it's nothing but 384 by 5. And what is 384 by 5 approximately? So when you do 384 by 5, so we'll get 7, 35, 34, 30, 40. We'll put a point here and we'll get 8, right? So basically what we are getting is 76.8. That means they can pack approximately how much boxes? 76.8 boxes. Anyway, they cannot complete 77 boxes. So the number of boxes completed is 76. So if you have 76 as the option, just mark the option that. So that will be the correct answer. So 76.8 means they haven't completed 77 boxes, right? So only 76 is completely done. So if you have 5 options like 76, 77, 78 and 79, only mark 76 because the number of boxes completely packed is 76. So 76 will be the correct answer. So if you have the formula M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2, you can actually do questions like this. Now there is an extension for this. What is the extension? Okay, all of you listen. So we have a formula that is M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2. Okay, so we have the formula M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2. Now in the question, if work is missing, what you have to do, you have to eliminate both. So let's say the question is like 5 men working for 10 hours a day for 2 days can finish a work. There is no mention of boxes. So 5 men working for 10 hours a day for 2 days can finish the work. 6 men working for 8 hours per day for 4 days can do the same work in how many, can do the same work in how many days? Let's say days is missing. So this is a question. 5 men working 10 hours a day for 2 days can finish a particular work. 6 men working 8 hours a day can do the same work in how many days? So we know M1, H1, D1, we know M2, H2, but D2 is missing, right? So W work is not mentioned in the question. So if something is not mentioned in the question, you have to eliminate it. Okay, let me just make it a bit more clear for you. So let's say the question is like this. 5 men working 10 hours a day can pack 40 boxes. So days is missing. 6 men working for 8 hours can pack how much boxes is the question. So what is missing in the question? Days is completely missing in the question. So whenever we have a question like this, always stick on to the formula M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2. Now in this question, what is missing? Days is missing, right? So we can eliminate days from both the sides. So what will we get? We have M1 H1 by W1 equals M2 H2 by W2, right? So what is missing in this question? Days is missing in this question. So we have to eliminate days from both the sides. So M1 H1 by W1 equals M2 H2 by W2 will be the equation now. So we can just substitute 5 men working for 10 hours can pack 40 boxes. 6 men working for 8 hours can pack how much boxes is the question. So we know M1, H1 and W1, M2, H2 and W2 is what is missing. You can just substitute and find the value of W2. So if something is missing in the question, eliminate it from both the sides. Okay, let's keep moving. We have a question connected to the same. This is a very interesting question. So 8 cows will give 80 liters of milk in 8 days. One cow will produce 1 liter of milk in how many days is the question. So this is a pure application of what we discussed. So what is the equation we have? M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals. So the equation we have is M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2. Now instead of men working here, we have cows working, right? So instead of men, we have to put the number of cows. So 8 cows will produce 80 liters of milk in 8 days. So you know the value of, we know the value which corresponds to the work they are doing. So W1 is 80 and D1 is 8 and the number of cows is 8. But what is missing? The number of hours they are working per day is missing in this question. So 8 cows working for 8 days can produce 80 liters of milk. One cow will produce 1 liter of milk in how many days is a question. So what is not mentioned in the question? The hours per day they are working for is not mentioned in the question. So we have to eliminate hours from both the sides. So the equation will be like M1 D1 by W1 equals M2 D2 by W2. So what is M1? 8 cows will produce 80 liters of milk in 8 days. So one cow will produce 1 liter of milk in how many days? So D2 is what is missing. So one cow will produce 1 liter of milk in how many days? So D2 is what is missing, right? So we have everything else, we need to just find the value of D2. So how will we get the value of D2? So D2 is nothing but 8 by 10, which is nothing but 0.8. So 0.8 will be the correct answer. So we are actually sticking on to the same formula, that is M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals M2 D2 H2 by W2. And in this question, hours per day they are working for is missing. So that's why we are eliminating hours from both the sides. So then it becomes M1 D1 by W1 equals M2 D2 by W2. So one cow, so 8 cows can produce 80 liters of milk in 8 days. One cow will produce 1 liter of milk in how many days is the question. So only D2 is missing. We can actually solve the value of D2 directly from the equation. So that is 0.8 days. So one cow will produce 1 liter of milk in 0.8 days. I think this is clear for you. Okay, so let's get moving. There are three different type of questions which we get in time and work. The first type will be like this. A can finish a work in A days, B can finish the same work in B days. If A and B are working together, in how many days the work will be finished? That is type number 1. Now type number 2 will be like this. A can finish a work in A number of days, B can finish the work in B number of days. If they work on alternate days, in how many days the work will be finished? That means on the first day A alone is working, next day B alone is working, next day A alone, next day B alone. If they work like that, in how many days the work will be finished? That is type number 2. Now type number 3 will be like A can finish a work in A number of days, B alone can finish the same work in B number of days. Now if they work together for 2 days and then one person left the work, so let's say on the first day A and B are working together, next day also A and B are working together. From the third day onwards, A is not working, only B is working. If they work like that, in how many days the work will be finished? That is type number 3. So this is type 1, this is type 2 and this is type 3. So what is type A? A can finish a work in A hours, B can finish the work in B hours. They can together finish the work in how many hours? Type 2 will be like if they work on alternate hours, in how many hours the work will be finished. Type 3 will be like they are working together for the first 2 hours and then one person left. In how many more hours can the other person finish the remaining work? So these are the three different type of questions we get. I'll tell you exactly how we can actually solve the questions. Let's get started. So what is this question all about? A can finish the work in 6 days, B can finish the same work in 8 days. Now if A and B are working together, in how many days the work will be finished? Now actually for solving this question, what I recommend is there are different ways of solving the question. There is an approach like part of the work method, there is another approach called LCM approach. But if it is a plain question like this, I will not recommend you making use of any techniques or any lengthy approach which we usually do for solving the questions. Directly use the formula, that is A into B by A plus B. So directly make use of the formula A into B by A plus B. So what does this mean? So A can finish a work in 6 days, B can finish the same work in 8 days. Now if A and B are working together, they can finish the work in how many days is the question. So all you need to do is 6 into 8 by 6 plus 8. So it's nothing but 14 by 48 days. It's nothing but 7 by 24 days. So if A and B are working together, they can finish the work in 7 by 24 days. As simple as that. Directly make use of the formula and finish it off. So which is nothing but A into B by A plus B. So if A can finish the work in A days and B can finish the work in B days, they can together finish the work in A into B by A plus B days. If A can finish the work in A hours, B can finish the work in B hours, they can together finish the work in A into B by A plus B hours. So this is what we actually do for solving questions like this. Now, there is another approach for actually solving this. That is what we make use of in the other questions which I discussed. So if the question is like they are working on alternate days, in how many days the work will be finished? Or if they work together for some days and one person left, in how many days the work will be finished? In such kind of questions, we'll use a different approach. That is called the LCM approach. There is another approach called part of the work method, but it will take a lot of time. So it is always better to stick on to the LCM approach. Now let's see how we can make use of the LCM approach. So I'll show you how we can make use of this approach for all the three questions. Okay, so what like I discussed before, we have to go for the LCM. What is the meaning of LCM? LCM means least common multiple, right? So LCM means nothing but least common multiple. So what we do is, let's go with the first type of question itself. How we can make use of the formula for this, but instead what we can do, you can go for the LCM approach. So we have to know the LCM approach, then only we can do the other questions also. That's why I'm telling you this. But if it is a plain question, don't do any of this, directly use the formula A into B by A plus B, but you have to make use of this technique in the other type of questions. So that's why I'm telling you this. So what we do is we have to go for the least common multiple of the days given. What are the days given? 6 and 8. So we have to go for the LCM of 6 and 8. There is no need of going for the exact LCM. You can go for any multiple, common multiple of these two numbers, or any number you feel like. So what is a common multiple for 6 and 8? So we know that the multiples of 6 are like 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. Multiples of 8 are 8, 16, 24, 32, like that. So a common multiple is 24. So the least common multiple is nothing but 24, right? Now, it is not mandatory to take LCM. You can take any number you feel like, 24 or 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever it is you can take. But if you find a common multiple, it will be easy for us to calculate. That's it. So we are assuming the total work as the LCM, which is 24 units. That is the first step. So what are we doing? We are going for a common multiple, that is 24, and we are assuming that is a total work to be done. So we are assuming 24 units as a total work. Now A can finish 24 units in how many days? 6 days, right? So it is clearly given that A can finish the entire work in 6 days. So A can finish the entire work in 6 days. So A can finish the entire work in 6 days. Now, if B alone is working, he can alone do the entire work in 8 days. So if we assume total work as 24 units, and if A can do that in 6 days, A can do how many units per day? It is 24 by 6, 4 units per day, right? If the total work is 24 units, it is already given that A can finish the entire work in 6 days. If the total work is 24, the contribution of A in 1 day will be 24 by 6, 4 units per day. And what will be the contribution of B in 1 day if the total work is 24? It's clearly given that B can finish the entire work in 8 days. So if B can finish 24 units in 8 days, B can do 24 by 8, 3 units per day, right? So if the total work is 24, the contribution of A in 1 day is 4 units and contribution of B in 1 day is 3 units. So they can together contribute how many units? 4 plus 3, 7 units. So if A and B are working together, they can finish 24 units in 24 by 7 days. So 24 by 7 days will be the correct answer. Is it completely fine? I believe this is clear for you. Let me just explain this again. We are blindly going for a common multiple of the days given. We are assuming that is a total work. And if A did 24 units in 6 days, the contribution of A in 1 day will be 4 units. And if B did 24 units in 8 days, the contribution of A in 1 day will be 3 units. Now if they work together, they will do 7 units in 1 day, right? If the total work is 24. So if they work together and finish the entire work, so if they need to finish 24 units, if 24 units is the total work, their contribution is 7 units per day. So 24 units can be done by N, B together in how many days? Total work divided by how many units they can do per day together. So 24 by 7 days will be the correct answer. So if you do A into B by A plus B also, you'll get the same answer. So what is 6 into 8 by 6 plus 8? It's 48 by 14. If you cancel these 2 by 2, again you will get 24 by 7 days only, right? So even though you go for the formula, you will get the same answer, but you need to know this approach. That's why I'm telling you this approach. I think this is clear for you. Now, let's get moving. Now, let's see how we can actually do a question like type 2, which I mentioned, using the same concept. Okay guys, so I believe you got an idea how we can make use of the LCM approach in a plain question. Like if A can finish a work in A days and B can finish the work in B days, they can together finish the work in how many days? If there is a question like that, you can make use of the LCM approach, and I believe you understood how we can make use of it. Along with LCM approach, you can use a formula also, A into B by A plus B. Now apart from this, we have questions like if A can finish the work in A days and B can finish the work in B days, if they work together for some days and if one person left, in how many days the work will be finished? Or if there are questions like A and B work on alternate days, in how many days the work will be finished? So in such kind of questions also we can make use of the LCM approach, but we'll discuss that in the upcoming class. So in today's class, we discussed about, first of all, we discussed about the formula, that is M1D1 equals M2D2, and the extension of same, that is M1D1 H1 by W1 equals M2D2 H2 by W2. After that, we jumped into the question where A and B are alone taking A hours and B hours can together finish the work in how many hours. We discussed the LCM approach and also the formula. So the other questions connected to the same will be discussed in the next class. We'll use the LCM approach itself for solving the other types. So for the time being, we can wind it up. Meet you in the next session. Thank you so much for the time. Bye-bye.